Good afternoon and welcome once again to Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin. We're coming to you from the Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related political issues, and self-defense. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com. A new show is posted every Thursday at around 5 p.m. Pacific time. New shows also appear on YouTube and numerous other media. The audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out the stations at KELY1230.com to find the station in your area. All over Nevada, and still working on getting one in the Las Vegas area, unfortunately. Questions or comments, you can send me an email at bob@firedupmail.com. That is bob@firedupmail.com. Or leave a message on my office recorder, 702-257-1060. Repeating, that's 702-257-1060. If you leave contact information, I'll respond by email, text, or telephone. Questions directed to the guest, in this case, can be sent directly to them. We'll give you that contact information in just a moment. If you miss it, you can send it to me and I will forward it to my guest. That's the easy part. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely covered by the lamestream media. So we always present a few for our listeners' education. Most are good shootings. Some are questionable. Sometimes they're really just wrongful shootings, but we pick them out because they're educational for those of you that own firearms or carry one for self-defense. The individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. We always add that because the advice given in the cases when we're talking, my attorney today is in California and Nevada, but the advice given may not apply in Mississippi or New York City or so forth. Local law always prevails. My guest today is Nevada and California attorney Donald J. Green. Don, if you would, give a bit of your background for anybody who possibly hasn't heard of you by now.
Yes, okay, thank you. Again, my name is Don Green. I'm an attorney in California and Nevada, 36 years. That's the longest job I've ever had. Anyway, the emphasis of our practice is dealing with firearms at all levels. Working with the ATF, filing papers against the ATF, defending people in criminal cases and civil cases concerning firearms, concealed weapons applications, federal firearms license applications. I represent federal firearms licensees at gun shows and audits, and we are heavily involved in current legislation and litigation, both in California and soon probably in Nevada. And for your listeners, my direct cellular, 24 hours a day, 702-409-8239. And if you call us, we do have on our little flashcards from our office, we have the new Nevada reciprocity chart, which is from the Nevada Revised Statutes and from the Nevada Department of Public Safety. This list is current as of June 2019. By Nevada law, the legislature must update every year by July the reciprocity, whether they're adding, whether they're subtracting. We now have 30 states. They have not added any this particular year, and this tells you about Nevada. And we also have information concerning other states, but because other states have some of them have full-time legislatures, we cannot tell you whether Nevada's CCW will be accepted in that state. It's something you have to look up online. Thank you.
I was shuffling your outline for you while
Yes.
you were talking.
Thank you.
This first story tonight comes from the Telegraph. It's a newspaper in Macon, Georgia, on the 23rd of March in 2019. This is a bit ago, but it has so much interesting stuff in it, I needed to get this on the air. A suspect was shot in an attempted robbery in downtown Macon early Sunday morning, according to the Bibb County Sheriff's Office, presumably that's in Bibb County. The incident happened just before 4 a.m. on Cherry Street. The intended victim, a local 30-year-old male, was walking home from work. He stopped momentarily to use his cell phone in front of the Rookery restaurant, which was closed at the time. This is 4 o'clock in the morning. Two males approached him from behind. One threw him to the ground, and both began attacking him, hitting him, and kicking him, and so forth. The intended victim pulled a handgun and fired multiple times. Both suspects fled, but one was struck by a bullet and fell. The suspect that was shot was identified as a local 22-year-old. He was taken to Navicent Health Medical Center, which, by the way, is the second largest hospital in Georgia, happened to be right around the corner from where this happened. It has 6,600 employees. This is a big, full-staff hospital. At last report, he was listed in stable condition. The armed victim had only minor injuries and was treated at the scene. Investigators are trying to identify the second suspect involved. Anyone with information is asked to call the sheriff's office. They're at 478-751-7500. This is an old case, but you will have to explain to them the case you're talking about. This story I wanted to get on. I've been holding it for a while, as you can all tell. The robbers may have selected the area as dark and isolated and no cameras, or they may have watched the victim's habit of walking home from work at 4 in the morning. Either pattern could have certainly set up the victim for this lay-in-wait type robbery. Georgia is a shall-issue state, at last report anyway, with thousands of concealed weapon holders. This is just the commentary I'm trying to make here is, if you set a pattern to become a victim, you're going to become a victim. People drive home from work, small shop owners, and they take the deposit to the bank, and they hit the bank drop-off teller at 8 o'clock every night, Monday through Saturday. Bad guys are watching. Sooner or later, they're going to be waiting for you. I had that happen to me personally in Pasadena, California. When I worked there, I was making late-night deposits, and I had a guy waiting for me with a knife when I arrived at the teller. Fortunately for me and unfortunately for him, I had a firearm with me, and I exposed the gun and told him he didn't want to mess with me, and he turned and ran away, and that was the end of that. I called the police. They caught the guy, but we had an attempted robbery thing. I don't know whatever happened to it. It wasn't a big deal. But that was my own fault for setting that pattern where somebody would know where I'd be with a bag full of money. Even today, when the bag is full of electronic receipts and very little cash, the dummies, the street criminals don't know it's just receipts. You got money. Don't become the pattern victim. Don, charge you.
Bob is absolutely correct. And you need to change your patterns, even if you're a homeowner. One of the primary principles of concealed weapons classes education is that you must exercise what's known as situational awareness. Situational awareness is defined as something that you do so that you look around and you see where these people are. You see bad guys over there hanging around in the corner, or like this dumb you-know-what. He's walking around and just happens to be in front of a restaurant which is closed, and he's on the phone, and he's not paying attention. So there's like zero situational awareness. When the robbers jump him, and finally he's on the ground, he reaches wherever and pulls the pistol. In California, suppose that even if he was correct in defending himself, but the weapon was concealed, it'll be a felony, and he could be charged with the shooting of the victim, the discharge of the firearm in a business area where people are possibly going to be hurt because this victim fired multiple times. That's what the defense attorney is going to do. He's going to attack the victim. He's going to show that the victim was not paying attention. He's going to show that even though the victim was getting beat up, was it enough great bodily injury or death as he's being beat up to justify the use of deadly force? That's the argument to the jury, and that's the attack on the victim.
That was easy. Pay attention. Walking into, well, we've done hundreds of cases on this show over the years where people walked into stupid stuff, and be aware of your surroundings. This next story also comes from California, in Arrowhead, where I spent some time as a child. The Mountain News in Arrowhead, California, reported on the 18th of this month, a few days ago, a 29-year-old resident of Crestline was shot July 11 at Lake Drive and Lake Gregory Drive, moments after he began to assault a 27-year-old male victim. This is according to the incident report and press release from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's homicide detectives responded to a residence on Lake Gregory Drive to conduct an investigation. They learned that 3 men had approached the victim around 9 p.m. He recognized one of the men as an associate of a suspect who had beaten him up back in January this same year, 6-7 months earlier. The assault resulted in the victim, who is now the victim again, being hospitalized. They beat him pretty good. As the 3 men approached, the victim felt threatened by them and their verbal taunts. He made his way toward his car. The most aggressive suspect, age 29, apparently grabbed the 27-year-old victim's shirt and punched him multiple times. You can visualize that, holding him by the shirt and punching him. The victim was still able to retrieve his firearm from a compartment in the car. He fired the gun, ending the assault right then, at about 9:15 p.m. An off-duty nurse who was nearby started administering medical aid to this 29-year-old, and she was there when deputies arrived. The nurse informed deputies the gunshot wound was to the lateral left chest, about 1 inch above the pectoral muscle. At that time, 9:22 p.m., a reporting party called 911 dispatcher that the 29-year-old was awake and in pain. This was just some other citizen calling. An ambulance transported him to San Bernardine's hospital. He was pronounced dead at 10:12 p.m., just like 50 minutes after the shooting. The investigation is ongoing, naturally. Anyone who may have information is asked to contact Detective Eric Ogaz. He's at 909-387-3589. The incident will be submitted to the District Attorney's Office for review. For reasons not detailed in the report, the reasons for the assault are not detailed in the police reports. This just happened, so we're missing a lot of the individual small stuff. Clearly, the victim had a reason to be in fear of great bodily harm, as he was hospitalized by the associate of these men 6 or 7 months earlier than this. No mention is made of the firearm in the car being permitted under California law. Maybe Don can address that part of it. From my perspective, the first rule of self-defense is don't get killed because you're trying to obey the law. If the gun was illegal, he's alive because he had it. Only survivors get to hire lawyers and defend themselves in court. Not by saying that, telling you not to obey the law, but first you got to be alive. So, Mr. Green.
The victim in this case needs to go online and find himself a lawyer, because there's a distinct possibility that he's going to be charged and go to jail. Why? The firearm was in a, according to this, the firearm was in a compartment In California, you cannot transport a firearm loaded with the ammunition in the same location in a vehicle, unless you've got a concealed weapon permit or unless you are a law enforcement officer. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that he did have enough time or the energy to retrieve the firearm. So the defense attorney is going to say, wait a minute, the victim should be charged because he should have escaped. He had time to the presence of mind to open his car door, because remember, he's walking around. And he was, what was he, thrown to the ground?
Yep.
Thrown to the ground, but he's walking around and he has to go, oh, excuse me, do you mind if I open my car door?
Yeah.
And then he opens the car door and reaches into a compartment. It's either maybe the console or maybe it's the glove compartment. So there's the first problem. The second problem is that if the weapon was illegally stored in the compartment, but he fired it in self-defense, can he still be charged with the use of a firearm during the commission of a crime? The crime was the storage of the firearm illegally and the use of that firearm in association with that storage. Plus, he fired multiple times, discharge of a firearm in a business district, discharge of a firearm where others were likely, possibly to be hurt, all felonies. So, the big thing is, at the beginning, when he's seeing these guys, and Bob points it out, when he's seeing these guys who beat him up and put him in the hospital, should he have, under California law, tried to escape or go the other way or call 911? This was 9 p.m. at night in, what was it, March?
Yeah.
What was it, March? When was this, March of 2013? When was this? Okay.
No, this
was just the other day.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So the thing is, at 9 o'clock, it's dark. Now, Bob points out some good points here. Bob points out very good points for you. And we have to look at this as in the timing, situational awareness. Could he have avoided it? Those are problems that he's going to face on the stand when the defense attorney is going to suggest that the victim should be charged with the crime. That the victim should be charged with the crime, not only by the storage, but by the use of the firearm.
Exactly. And if you are familiar with lawsuit lawyers, they're probably going to charge the restaurant for not having a light outside, and you name it. They'll come up with everything. We are, shootings never end. Trust me on that. I've got cases I started on 5 years ago that are still going, and still on, one longer than that, still on appeal. We're going to break here for some slides from work from our sponsors and friends here at Fired Up. So hang on just a minute, and we're going to run through this. This is a new associate of ours, Freestyle Martial Arts. They're at 702-551-9009. They're not too far from my house at Jones, and just off Jones at 5693 South Jones. I'm looking for the cross street, and I don't know where I live. You will find them there. You call that number, 702-551-9009. Their website is freestylemmalv.com. Tell Gokar I said to call him. Great guy. There's some photographs of his work there. Great guy. Next, we have my old friend at CCS Gunsmithing. They're at 702-365-1732. I should know that by now. They're on Rainbow near Sahara in Las Vegas. Fine gunsmithing, and they buy and sell firearms and new consignments for people. If you would like, they'll run them up on the internet for you and that sort of thing, and handle all the paperwork so you don't go to jail for violating some law that you don't know about. Next, we have my old friend Jerry Creed, who does elder abuse and elder law, estate planning, but his primary for this purpose is the issue of firearms trusts, particularly if you have a Class 3 trust. or you have a lot of firearms in a trust that you want to leave to your children. There's all sorts of laws that get in your way and things like that, and who are the children that are getting them, and background checks and so forth. Call Jerry, 702-806-7777. 702-806-7777. He will set you straight. Do this. My old friend Don Green is a supporter of our show. You can reach him at 702-409-8239 when you need a gun lawyer. You've been listening to him. You know the drill. He's the guy. And Maggie Mordaunt, fine instructor, teaches all sorts of classes for everybody, women's classes especially. You can find her quickly at CCW Maggie, M-A-G-G-I-E. Just run CCW MAGGIE and search it, and you will find all over the website CCW Maggie Mordaunt. She does wonderful training, her and her husband, ladies' classes, all that sort of thing. Great lady. And my favorite eating hole, Ricardo's. I think I'm headed there after this broadcast, actually, at 4930 West Flamingo. It's at Flamingo and Rainbow, right on the corner. You can reach them at 702-227-9100. Ask for Bob. He's the owner. I can remember his name because that's my name. Try Ricardo's. You will love it. Now, we're back to, let me see how much time we got left to run. Oh, boy, we're within 5 minutes of the end of the show.
Already?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Oh, we got time. You can do it.
We got about 5 minutes left.
Wow.
Yeah. See how time flies
There
when
you
you're
go.
having fun?
You can do it.
I don't know, get through this one. We'll give it a shot. This is ABC News 5 in Cleveland, reported on 7/22 of 19. In Canton, Ohio, an early morning home invasion on the 2600 block of 2nd Street. Police Captain Dave Davis reported the homeowners were awakened by two intruders hitting them with guns. They're hitting them with the guns. That's how they got awakened. They weren't in the doorway where you have time to fiddle with your gun. They are on top of you, beating on you. One had a rifle. The other guy had a handgun. They didn't detail out what the specific brands were and so forth. At some point during the attack, the robbers both left the bedroom and went downstairs to search for money. By the time they headed back up the stairway, the homeowner had retrieved his own pistol. One of the individuals discharged 3 rounds from his rifle before being shot and killed by the homeowner. Gunfight in your house. Think about that. That's not fun. The homeowner told officers someone had broken into his house a week earlier. Detectives are not yet sure whether that's connected to this particular burglary. Records show the third accomplice, a 28-year-old female, returned to the area, she was the getaway driver, picked up her 24-year-old injured accomplice and drove him to the hospital. She was arrested at the hospital. Duh. The 28-year-old that was taken to the hospital was pronounced dead at 2:10 a.m., shortly after he got there. The female reportedly lied about her involvement as the getaway driver, so she's charged with obstruction of justice, complicity to aggravated burglary, and of course, she is going to be charged with murder. Even though she didn't shoot her friend, she caused the incident to happen. We'll follow this up as we get more time, but she can be charged with murder, correctly, Don?
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. We have time?
Yeah.
Okay. Under the felony murder rule, a person who commits a murder during and in relation to an inherently dangerous felony, burglary, arson, rape, kidnapping, sexual assault of a child, multiple people are involved, armed robbery of a bank, armed robbery of a grocery store, carjacking, whatever. You can be charged with the murder which occurs even though you don't shoot it, through either what's known as vicarious liability, which is defined as your aider and abetter, accessory before the fact, which you hear on Perry Mason,
Yeah.
accessory during the fact, accessory after the fact, conspiracy, because the shooting occurs during the commission of an inherently dangerous felony or felonies, the burglary, the assault with the rifle, and attempt murder with the rifle. But Mr. Green, she didn't pull the trigger. She wasn't even in there. But as Bob points out, she facilitated the shooting of the co-defendant, who's now dead, because she's the getaway driver. Now, there's a very famous Florida case about 25 years ago, which says that she can be charged with the murder, but she can't get the death penalty because that is left for the person who fired the weapon. In this case, it's not going to happen because of the homeowner. The homeowner was absolutely correct in this particular shooting. He's in his home. I've made a note, there's no duty to retreat in your own home. In most states, there's no duty to retreat, assuming that the weapon is legal, assuming that the ammunition is legal, assuming that your magazine that's in your semi-automatic is legal, many other assumptions. But there was a threat of great bodily harm and death. The bad guy fires from his rifle 3 times, and the very astute homeowner, I'm going to protect my house, I'm going to protect my family, I'm going to get my firearm. Now, most people do not store firearms all over their house. There are some people who do, in safes, on the side of the chair, whatever. You know what? I cannot say that's a good idea. I can't say it's a bad idea. But in this case, homeowner's correct, and the female who is the getaway driver has a very serious problem.
Yep. She is legally toast.
Yes.
That's it for today. You can check out all our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. That website contains recent shows, and we're gradually getting the old ones put on. I'm not much in the electronic world, so every time they fix something around here, I goof it up by touching a button somewhere. Anyway, we put up a new show every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Please tune in. When we went through our list of sponsors, you saw who helps us. They're not all sponsors, they're just friends of mine. But I support them because they support us. And we'll see you next week.
Yes.
When you're watching the show, by the way, at any media, it'll come up with a subscribe button somewhere. Click that, and your computer or phone will get the show automatically just after 5 p.m. And then we'll all know what's going on. Oh, and don't forget to look up firedupwithboberwinstore.com for merchandise we sell, my books and T-shirts and hats and things, to keep us stuff going. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to be back next week with another show. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.